How will we do this? How will we make this change we are longing for? How will we build a world where American children can learn at school without the threat of gun violence looming over them? Although the Sandy Hook tragedy was 5 years ago, I vividly remember dropping my daughter off at elementary school on the Monday after the massacre. I remember seeing Mary Hogan Elementary School with fresh eyes. The large glass entryway, the buzzer system to be let in. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only parent who couldn't help but picture how inadequate these safety and security measures would be in stopping an angry young man with an assault weapon and lethal ammunition. I remember driving away from the school that day and also feeling ashamed. I'm ashamed at how much more easily I empathize with families who look like my family. Newtown shocked America because of the viciousness of the slaughter and the fact that so many victims were so young, 6-year-olds. But don't you think we also felt the pain more acutely because Newtown is a town like our town, an affluent New England majority white community? It was a horrific event that could happen anywhere in this country. But statistically, these kinds of killing sprees are still fairly rare. Handguns cause way more deaths than assault rifles, and 62% of firearm deaths in the United States are suicides. On an average day, 7 children and teens are killed with guns in the US, and in an average American month, 50 women are shot to death by their intimate partner. I felt ashamed at my reaction to Newtown because while I live in a pretty safe community, millions of other moms and dads don't. Millions of parents wonder every day if their child will be a victim of gun violence simply walking home from school or playing outside. We need to care about these families just as much as we care about families who lost their kids in Newtown, Connecticut, or Parkland, Florida. We need to care about Tamir Rice, the 12-year-old shot by police while playing in a park. We need to care about Ayanna Stanley Jones, a 7-year-old girl killed by Detroit police officers while she was sleeping at her grandmother's house. How many of us worry when our kids have an overnight with grandma that they might be victims of a police shooting? And we need to care about Stephen Clark, shot 20 times by police last Sunday while holding a cell phone in his backyard in Sacramento, California. If we ignore violence and injustice inflicted by our government and communities of color, we are saying that our lives matter more than theirs. Can you even imagine how outraged we would be if our family members were being routinely harassed, intimidated, and even killed by the police force paid for with our tax dollars? The brave students from Parkland, Florida, who have led all of this recent activism totally get this. They have gone to Chicago to summit with Black teenagers who have been organizing against gun violence for years. They have called out the media for ignoring. They have called out the media for ignoring gun violence in Black communities. This is not black on black crime. This is the crime of white supremacy that has forced generations of our fellow Americans to live in substandard housing with underfunded schools, no infrastructure, no jobs, and not even a grocery store to buy fresh food. White people, we need to do and be better. When we stand up and demand that our legislators protect our children's right to be safe in school, let us also be demanding everyone's right to live in a safe community. We are the wealthiest country in the world. That wealth is a direct result of centuries of the brutal enslavement of Black Americans and land theft and genocide against indigenous people who were the original victims of gun violence in this country. So to come back to the questions I asked in the beginning, how will we do this? How will we make this change we are longing for? How will we build the world where American children can learn at school without the threat of gun violence looming over them? I believe the answer is that we will do this in solidarity with communities of color. We need to challenge ourselves to learn more about the violence that founded this nation, and we need to stop perpetuating this violence. We need to listen to communities of color and show up in the struggle for racial justice. What we want for our families, a warm house, good food, education, some measure of economic security, is what everyone wants for their families. Yeah. White people, we are not special because our ancestors came here from Europe. We are not special because we have less pigment in our skin. Our children are precious, but they are not more precious than anyone else's children. It's time we start acting like we understand this. It's time we start acting like we understand that everyone deserves to be safe. Yeah.